Alright, for the last few months, I've been tracking updates about Comet 3i Atlas, as has everybody else, unless you've been living under a vacuum, in a vacuum, whatever you've been doing. I've got three things to raise, 3 points. Number one, I've looked at the publications on the comet and have analysed the data about the luminosity and colour of Comet 3i Atlas. Number two, I've noticed that music in the form of urban and contemporary rap music genres can be extracted from the dataset I was looking at. Number three, I started to write this music down using modern studio software, and well, here we are. All right, this signal, the latest one we had, seems to be a hot one. So I'll go back in it because I just got it recently, 3 days ago on the 20th of February. So it's very, very fresh. Whatever predictions are going to come from it are happening now or immediately after this. So as a watchman, if you like, to the human race, I thought I could alert people to this. So those of you who are allergic to numerology and shit, you're in the wrong crowd. Excuse yourself. Cough once and leave. Yeah, I coughed twice there. Sorry about that. I know you heard me the first time. Hold on, let me do this. I had to do my flies up. I hope you didn't see shit. Let's start. Let's run the music for this. Hold on. Hang on. Boom. I can't do this melodically. It's nothing serious, and you must learn how to talk about shit, because like, unless you want to get haunted by acronyms and become one yourself and move off in that direction, it's best to spit it like this. So how do we look at current events? That's what I mean. Hold on. That was near the end when I started it. That's another thing. You got to do your due diligence before you start shit. And you got to give props to the people who do this for a living, because well, for me it's just some fun shit. Yeah. Right, back to the mystery of the 44.4 and them ones, and the previous video, the most current one to this. Yeah, I still think it's attached to the 3i Atlas resonance that's going around in the solar system at this time and thing. So on the 20th of February 2026 at 09:35:08, I think, yeah, that's the timestamp on it. So I got a video that also went through a freeze, and if you listen carefully you can actually see, before I ran the video I stopped it just 12 seconds in, and you can see that the pause sign is there, yeah, which means that the video is playing. If you press the pause sign, then the play sign will come. Yeah, the pause sign is there right at the corner, the lower left corner of the image in the video. So let me run and play. Yeah, that when you play, the pause sign appears, as you can see. So it's stuck. Can you see the date? 036 1641. It's still frozen as I'm recording. And then it starts back. Started again. Yeah. And I didn't touch nothing. Right. So that's the video. That's the current one that I'm talking about in this rhyme. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because that was received on the 20th, but it was a Saturday, and I was kind of resting and procrastinating, but I should have put it out because I would have noticed what happened yesterday. Yesterday is when I got off my ass and decided to put something together about this, because like, I thought it was done. I thought after 3i Atlas passed perihelion and perigee, he had stopped sending messages. But maybe I was wrong, and maybe this is the last one, because this is the 7th major event that I've written down. I think it might be that. Should I try and fit everything that comes afterwards into one of the 7? This is the last one. So what do I think of that? So as you know, me, when I see freak events around, I don't get spooked out. I start thinking mathematically. So I put that on the latest events that I have, and like I told you, that's the seventh one now, and it's the live on Fox News video, which happened the 20th of February 2026 at 09:35:08 in the morning, I think that was. So the first multiple 44.4 hours added to that date that I just read out gives you, if you add 44 hours to the 20th of February, you'll be on the 22nd, which was yesterday. But I was doing the video yesterday, so I couldn't check what was happening yesterday because I was on yesterday. But just to add, just basically just in the middle of the video, just towards the end, I think 7 minutes before I finished, I can show you when I finish the video, so you can verify what the timestamp is on it. This video was finished. It's the last one I did. Yeah, let me drag this across. The video was finished on the 22nd. You can see that there. Yeah, this video was finished on the 22nd. Yeah, well, of yesterday, 22nd of February 2026 at 21:02. That's when the video was finished. Yeah, so that was done yesterday, but I recorded it much earlier than that. When I recorded it in its full form, and it took me editing and time to edit it out and everything. Basically, there was an earthquake as I was recording it, but the timestamp doesn't really reflect that shit. There was an earthquake yesterday. It was a 7.1. In that video, I was repeating 7 multiple times, and I didn't know why. But yesterday there was an earthquake that was a 7.1, and it happened at 55 kilometers northwest of Kota Belud in Malaysia. Yeah, and that was during the video. We'll come back to the events of that day. So I started thinking, well, the next prediction, if you add 44.44 hours to yesterday, you should get the next one, which is tomorrow. So let me put this out before tomorrow. Let me see if I can try to do one of them prediction them, but it will be more of a one using scientific logic. I suppose you could call it a pseudoscience, semi-scientific, I suppose, and half intuition. So based on what's happened before, people can project and can focus weather, if you like. Yeah, somebody can look at the way things look now and think that, well, if there's a cloud here and it's traveling at this much miles an hour in that direction, then you can tell the people in that direction in 2 days, if you calculate it, that this cloud would have reached there, and it's going to have all kinds of rain precipitating from it. So you can tell them you're going to get rain in 2 days time to come from this shit. So that's the kind of prediction I'm making. Those of you who are spooked out about people making predictions, you should have left at the very first moment before I started this one. And get the fuck out. Yeah, I don't want you to give me that feeling that I should be careful that I'm talking about predicting things because people who are spooked out about it will see and start to fuck. No, they shouldn't be watching this shit. I don't do that anyway. Yeah, I'm talking to you and I'm showing exactly how I'm making the predictions, how they're coming together, and you don't see any demons around or any conjuring being done, do you now? Yeah, it's based on mathematics and science, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? Right, so the next 44.4 hours, yeah, multiple, when added to the initial date of the 20th of February 2026 is tomorrow. So when I give you a prediction about tomorrow, I didn't pick that date from out of empty air. I fucking calculated it using proper tables of multiples of 44.4. So why would you be getting spooked like I'm doing some spiritual thing that's going to affect the people? People should stop bothering me with nonsense that goes on in their mind. Anyway, there's no demons around. Just mathematics, that's the only thing that's around. Unless you can say that my numbers are demonic, then you wouldn't know shit too. religious things also depend on numbers and talking to us about three and triune gods and them things. Yeah. You also do numerology that messes up the whole world. If you look at it from a neutral point, you can see, yeah, when you disturb by mentioning your numerology in your religions, you also disturb things that is uncontrolled to that. It's out of phase. Any disturbance is a disturbance that's going to bring positivity and negativity. Okay? If you start off by pushing the pendulum, it will swing back and forth the same way as it would if you start off by pulling it. Fuck. You're pushing it and I'm pulling it. Either way, none of us should be doing it. Because the same effect will happen in the end. It looks like the same thing, but it's just out of phase, isn't it? The pendulum. Yeah. So, about tomorrow's prediction. I haven't got one because I'm not one of those lunatics that believes in shit. Let me see if there's anything mathematical that I can connect to it. Right. I was thinking to myself, what about sudden stratospheric warming? Now that's a phenomenon that became prominent in the last 10 years for me. As I was meditating, I noticed that occasionally the troposphere, which is the immediate atmosphere around me, warms up in unpredictable, unexpected ways. They might be predictable. That's why I had to check. Do they predict this sudden warming, not in the stratosphere, but in the troposphere? Then you have to say, is there a way that sudden stratospheric warming can somehow warm the troposphere as well? Because if that happens, then something must have warmed up the atmosphere above the troposphere, which is the stratosphere, and this warmth somehow was transported into the troposphere for me to feel like, hold on, why is it warm all of a sudden? So and this kind of warming, does it have a periodicity? Can you deduce a periodicity where you can say it happens every 1-2 years or something like that, so we can understand? And if it happens in a way different from the predicted periodicity, then isn't that something that implies that something else is going on at that time? So that's the kind of reason that I use. I don't use spirits. I don't sit down and conjure up things to help me see things. So but this is people's knowledge. Yeah, they might tell you stop looking at our shit. As long as it's not public funded, they have a right to tell me that shit. So I like to look at what's available to me, what the Almighty gave me. The Almighty gave me the stars and sun to see, yeah, the clouds, the sky, the earth, yeah, detection of the wind if it hits my skin, yeah, and then there's flora, plants and vegetables, and then there's fauna, animals, human beings, and things like that. So I look at those things, yeah, to try and deduce what's going to happen next, but I have a scientific mind. Sometimes you hear scientifically defined phenomena that happens in nature that correlates with how people think in time. For example, the solar cycles, that's how many sunspots the sun's got on it. It follows some kind of 11-year cycle. And they notice that correlates with certain significant events that's happened over in the past. Yeah, every time it's at a peak in the cycle, major disturbance happens on Earth, yeah, in terms of what people decide to do as the choices they make at that time. Yeah, so if you have the ability to notice that coloration and you have access to empirical data about the solar cycle, then you can use that one. But for me who doesn't, how would I do it? I would just look at it. Since it colorates, I'll see every time they look to make stupid decisions, then maybe this is the time when there's a peak, yeah, in the solar cycle. And then you notice that they make stupid decisions every 11 years, which matches the solar cycle. So I just look for, when I look at human beings and fauna, I look for when they're behaving stupidly. The level of stupidity changes over time. When it's peak, when the level of stupidity is peak, that's when I'll know that we've reached a solar maximum with respect to that. So I just been looking at people and seeing the intensity of stupidity to tell me when the solar cycle is peaking and troughing. Yeah, I would do it that way because I don't have no telescope or whatever measuring instrument they use to deduce them one. So how am I supposed to know? Anyway, sudden stratospheric warming (SSW) is an atmospheric phenomenon that occurs when polar stratospheric temperatures suddenly rise by several degrees, sometimes as much as 50 C or 90 F Fahrenheit, yeah, over the course of a few days. SSWs occur in the stratosphere, are often associated with Rossby waves and polar vortex breakdown, and come in varying magnitudes. SSWs are significantly more common in the northern hemisphere than the southern hemisphere. SSWs history now. SSWs, right? SSWs were discovered by Richard Scherhag, a German meteorologist who worked at Free University in Berlin starting in 1951. Scherhag launched radio zones from Berlin's Tempelhof Airport to research temperature behavior in the upper stratosphere. However, on January 26th, I'm looking for numbers, 26th, 1952, which is 26 times 2, Shah had noticed that the upper stratosphere was beginning to warm at an abnormal rate. The warming continued for 4 days, by which time the upper stratosphere had warmed 33 degrees Celsius. Shah had reported this phenomenon in a journal later that year, expressing considerable uncertainty regarding its cause and nature. So he's the one who first became sensitive to it. Let's move on to classification and description. SSW events are categorized by a sudden and abrupt increase in stratospheric temperature over a short period of time, usually within a few days. SSW events occur in the winter when winds in the stratosphere are normally westerly. SSW events disrupt the normal westerly wind flow in the upper troposphere. That's the one I was talking about. I thought so when I read that up. So they do say that sudden stratospheric warming, and I'll read it verbatim again. Yeah. SSW events disrupt the normal westerly wind flow of the upper troposphere, yeah, and depending on severity can sometimes reverse it entirely. Didn't know. So they disrupt the upper troposphere. The troposphere is the first body of air where we are at, where the most of the biology of Earth is, yeah, which is the ground to as far as where we are, basically the first layer of atmosphere. Well, yeah. So but the uppermost part of the first layer, that's where SSWs interact, yeah. So they do transport heat down into the troposphere. So maybe you can detect SSWs when it suddenly gets warm in the troposphere. So I can detect when the solar cycle is happening, how the solar cycle is happening, and the characteristics for it. I can also detect from just observing what's up in everyday life. Yeah, when the sudden stratospheric warming that occurred, it would have happened a few days before which would then be sudden tropospheric warming occurs. It's more than just warming. If you read on, yeah, depending on severity, yeah, can even reverse the wind. As a result, some of the warm air can intrude into the troposphere, you think, which often disrupts the polar vortex. SSW events affect polar areas only, although the strongest SSW events can come down to 60 degrees north. Almost all SSW events take place in the northern hemisphere, which normally sees one SSW every 2 to 3 years. So there's a frequency there. Yeah, you get one, yeah, every 2 to 3 years. Yeah, so every 2 to 3 years you get a ping. That's the frequency, 2 to 3 years. Yeah, if it behaves different like that, then you know something else is causing it. So then I moved on. Let's move on. Give me a list of sudden stratospheric warming events in 2026, I asked. AI overview, again, nothing deep, not too much. It's just yeah. Based on reports from early 2026, the following sudden stratospheric warming events and related polar vortex disruptions have been identified. Mid-February 2026 events, we've just had one. A major SSW event was confirmed to be unfolding in mid-February 2026, causing a textbook split and collapse of the polar vortex. This event is expected to significantly impact the weather, leading to prolonged cold wave across North America and Europe that could last into early spring. Oh man. So spring's gonna, well, it's nice now anyway. And then they predicted one, the early February 26 potential event. Weather models in late January 26 indicated high probability of major SSW in early February, with projections of Arctic stratospheric temperatures spiking by 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. I don't know, I don't think that happened, but we did get the mid-February one. Yeah, they got a late February transition. The pre-split disruption was noticed around the start of January 2026, contributing to colder than normal temperatures in Canada and the United States. Yeah, so we've had one in mid-February. Yeah, and most of my videos happened around there when they had one. So that's what I was reading about here. Yeah, that's where it is. I'm glad we read that shit. So it must have happened around there. This one is talking to you about, hold on, let me see it again. Yeah. Yeah, those are February things. Yeah. So just here, this one is from severeweather.au. Yeah. Below is the latest analysis and forecast of the mid-stratospheric winds around the polar vortex. Lines show the most recent forecasts, which indicate a clear and continuous weakening of the stratospheric polar vortex. They even show you what the polar vortex connection to the SSW is. Yeah, and I like this. I like that video as well, what they put there. This is a very, very good article, and this explains it really well. Normally, the tropospheric warming occurs here. The polar vortex traps this air in. Yeah, it traps in cold air. Yeah, and the tropospheric warming happens here, and the stratospheric warming happens here, elevated level. And when the stratospheric warming occurs, it breaks this wall. Yeah, it breaks this wall that's keeping the cold air trapped. Yeah, and the cold air slips out into the lower latitudes. Yeah, so when it warms up here, it's looking like that before it warms up, but after it's warmed up, it breaks out. Right? So I like that. And they explained the last one that's happened. This one just happened, well, in February. February 16th, not so long now. It broke out basically. Yeah. And this graph that I wanted to tell you about, Below is the latest analysis on Focused. That one is telling you about the winds that happen in the polar vortex. Yeah, they used to be held in. Used to be a wall that was holding the cold air, but now the cold air is coming out. So all kinds of wind will happen when that happens. So the wind has been dropping, which means it's been warmed up. Something's warmed it up, and the warming started. Well, they say it started around 15th, the mid February sudden stratospheric warming. But I'm thinking it started around here, and this is the effects from it that you're measuring. But what caused it must have begun there. Okay, maybe it might peak there, I suppose. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, what else did I have? Yeah, just well, we've been through that, the explanations of the different spheres there is to the atmosphere. We're in the troposphere, this is where we live, and the next level up is the stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere. These are all layers of atmosphere. Ionosphere is above that. Well, this is the ionosphere, yeah, thermosphere, yeah. But we're there. So when this warms up, it's like it becomes like a hot plate, and it warms up the one below it as well, and the one above it as well. It must be warmed up by this one, and that warming cycle goes like that anyway. But we've just been through that, and that explains how it's held together. Yeah. So back to the video I had yesterday when I was saying 7, because there were 7 accidents involving 7 people dying. That's 777. So then I asked myself, what is 7 cubed? That's 7 times 7 times 7. It's 343. So I was thinking 343. Where have I had that before? Let me think hard. I heard it when I was reading about sound. Yeah. So I asked, what is the speed of sound in meters per second? Look at that. 343. That's 7 times 7 times 7. 7 cubed. It's like a cube where all the sides are equal to x, and x equals 7. So 7 times 7 times 7 is equals that cube there. 343 meters squared. Yeah. So that's weird, isn't it? Then I was just looking around to see what else is there. So I asked, how much distance does the Earth rotate in 1 second in meters per second? Yeah. At the equator, the Earth rotates at a speed of approximately 465.1 meters a second. Yeah, I was thinking, well, that's close to 343. Just looking for numbers at this stage. Not sure what it will be. Yeah. Interesting to know. So my curiosity again. So the speed of sound is 343. The Earth rotates 400 meters and a bit in a second. Yeah. How far can someone hear you when you shout? Yeah. A human shout can typically be heard and understood from about 100 to 200 meters. It's around that range, 100s, 200s, 300s, 400s. Yeah, it's all related somehow. 200 meters away in normal outdoor conditions. In ideal quiet and calm conditions, a shout can carry up to a mile. However, the distance varies heavily based on wind, background noise, and terrain. Yeah. Right, so I didn't read the next bit. I'm ADHD, but then I came back to it. So I asked something stupid like this. Does the Earth's rotation characteristics mean that you can hear someone from a longer distance if they were standing west of you than you would if they were standing east? Can't even fit it in. And they said no. The Earth's rotation characteristics do not mean that. Do not mean that. And they said why there's a misconception. Let me read that. This misconception often stems from thinking the atmosphere is stationary while the Earth rotates underneath it. However, in reality, the atmosphere is glued to the Earth by gravity and rotates along with it. Because both of you, the air, medium of sound, and the person speaking are moving together at the same speed, 100 miles an hour, the speed of rotation of Earth, the direction of sound source relative to the rotation does not affect how far it travels. Yeah, there's a conservation of momentum factors. Here's a breakdown of why this is the case based on the physics involved. Conservation of momentum, because the atmosphere and everything in it rotates together. Sound waves produced on the surface do not have to fight the rotation of Earth or to move in any direction. Yeah, they do not fight the rotation to move in any direction. Yeah, uniform environment. The air around you is moving at the same rotation velocity as the ground, so there is no consistent westward or eastward bias in sound propagation caused by rotation. It doesn't matter where you're facing, you should be the same thing. But what does affect it is wind. Yeah, yeah, wind versus rotation. While wind, which is caused by the Coriolis effect, a consequence of rotation, can affect sound, it does not consistently make western sounds louder. A wind blowing from east to west could help sound travel westward, but a wind blowing from west would hinder it. So yeah, it does vary. On a windy day, they can't hear you as far, depending on which direction it's blowing. Like I said, but not by too much, but it could be measurable. Yeah, so that was a dumb question I asked. Anyway, but back to yesterday. I ain't done with yesterday. Let me see what kind of shit I can talk about. I don't talk about the big things. You've all seen what happened yesterday, and there's quite a few things, but I'm responsible with it. Okay, I just look for numbers. That's all I look for. I don't really look at people's shit. Let's see. February 26th, North American blizzard. In the United States, a major nor'easter snowstorm hits the East Coast, causing blizzard conditions and major transportation disruptions. Oh my days. Nor'easter, we just read about the SSW and the collapse of the polar vortex. Well, that one was predicted. Search and rescue operations begin for 3 individuals who have been reported missing after a collapse of a landfill in Rodriguez Rizal, Philippines, 2 days prior. There are often claims that up to 50 people are feared missing from the incident. Now this is a landfill. I did see it actually. I did watch a report on this on the news, and basically it's like a sinkhole or something. Yeah, it's a landfill that collapsed. They filled it with rubbish and it collapsed. It buried everything around it, and there's people missing in that. I think that's the same one. No, that's a different one now. But there was there's sinkholes opening up. Yeah, there is a structural integrity failure mechanism that I don't think we've identified. Yeah, something that's small and is extremely very slight, but don't know how to measure that. We're talking frequencies that move in the order of less than 1, but who can be bothered to measure that? You've been sitting there for days waiting for one oscillation to occur. So I don't know. International relations. There was a relations between Iran and Russia. Law and crime. Secret service and police killed a 21-year-old man who entered Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, them are people's things that I don't talk about. 21, that's a number. Yeah. Hold on. But this one's 50, that's a 21. Nah, I don't see nothing. The 9th Congress of Workers' Party of Korea. North Korea's Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un is re-elected as, okay, that's North Korean thing. Yeah, okay, Kim Jong-un got re-elected. Congratulations, I suppose. I don't know. That's a 9 there. 2026 Laotian parliament election. Laotians vote in a parliament election to elect the 175 members of the 10th National Assembly, the only legal party in Laos contesting the election is the Lao People's Revolutionary Party. Yeah, congratulations to them. 175 members got elected. Winter Olympics. Yeah, ice hockey at the 2026 Winter Olympics. The United States defeats Canada 2-1, 21-2-1, 2-1. Yeah, during overtime, winning gold in the men's tournament in ice hockey for the first time since 1980, exactly 46 years after the miracle on the ice. There was a miracle there, and the number 46 is 23 times 2. Let me think. Maybe it was supposed to happen. I don't know. 2-1, 2 is 20, 2 23 is 26. Yeah, I can't see nothing. There's other events, but I won't really. Those are things that we don't talk about. What else was there? Arts and culture. The 79th British Academy Film Awards occurred. Yeah. We're at the 2026 BAFTA Awards. The American film One Battle After Another wins the most awards with 6, including Best Film. There's a 6 there. 79 is in that prime. Yeah, that one's a prime too. Yeah, there's quite a few things that I can read from that, but you get the gist of it. Yeah, so I'm saying that maybe I had to put the landfill there as well, because weird shit like that. That's what I'm saying. The next date on the calendar, yeah, is the 24th of February. So don't know what's going to occur. The only thing it coincides with is a X-flare that's large. Maybe going by that, when I'm making a prediction, I could say that there might be an X-flare that's large, because like in the video yesterday when I was talking about this one, I was saying 777. Well, we've had the first 7.1 earthquake, that's 1.7. Maybe these ones are going to be something to do with 7 in magnitude. Maybe an X-flare that's X.17 or even X.7 itself might occur. Yeah, because all we know is that if an X-flare by itself that's large did occur and it was like 7.1 on them ones, it will definitely cause an earthquake that's over 7 to occur the next few days after that. So maybe I'm saying this might be exactly like this one there, yeah, where you get a X-flare and earthquake combo. Yeah, I don't know. Time will tell. But that's my prediction. The next thing that's gonna happen that's major will be on the yeah, that's it. It was on the 24th of February. I reckon we're gonna get an X-flare that's X7, and then on the 25th of February we'll get an earthquake that's above 7. How's that for a prediction? I should come back to you on the 26th and see how right I was. I don't want to dodge the questions you're going to give me, so I'll write it down as a prediction, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to save it and I won't tamper with it. Prediction, X-flare, and then prediction here, well, earthquake, in a major earthquake. Yeah. We'll see if I'm right. I don't know. Yeah. So let me finish off. Yeah. This is the latest video. I'm not sure if there'll be other ones, but it's not spooking me out, you know. I'm still approaching the subject with a clear eye, and I don't believe in things unless they're fact. Where I see coloration doesn't really mean causation, I know that, but I'm just having fun, as long as I know that I'm just having fun and it's nothing more than dance, it should be all right. And that's what I want you to see that as. Some of the things that are happening in this world are really serious, like, but for us, my message is you have to know what's going on and learn how to work around that and work with that, go with it like water, if you like. Yeah, so knowing what's happening, you try to read between the lines in terms of what nature is doing and what's happening there, and you work around that. If you know that an X-flare and an earthquake is going to come, or there's a high risk of it happening based on some logic. Mine is pseudoscience, I suppose, so I wouldn't base on that one too much. Let me go. Yeah, enjoy the track. I'll see you when those predictions happen.